Am I the a-hole for saying I owe my ex's wife nothing and being quietly glad my kids don't consider her their second mom? My 30 female marriage to my ex, 32 male, ended during my pregnancy with our son, who is now 8. We formally divorced when he was 2 months old, but we separated at the very beginning of the pregnancy and co-parented our daughter, who is now 10, throughout that time, as difficult as it was. After the divorce was finalized, things turned more sour, and we avoided each other except for exchanges. 2.5 years after our divorce was finalized, he introduced me to his then-girlfriend, now wife, 33 female, at a custody exchange. At first, she seemed nice enough, and I had no problem with her. I even thought she was nicer than him. But something I didn't know at the time was that she took offense to me handing the kids to my ex, instead of offering her one or both of them. I found this out 2 months later when our daughter's preschool had their play, and she accused me of hogging my son throughout the performance and not giving her the chance to hold him. Then she brought up the exchange. She told me she was going to be their mommy too, and I needed to get over my selfish hogging of our children. And by our, she meant hers, mine and my ex's. My ex stood back and said nothing. I told her that I wasn't hogging anyone, and that at the exchange, I did what I always do when the kids go to their dad. She told me I just didn't want to accept that soon enough I'd be the number 2 mom, and maybe they'd eventually call me by my first name and call her mom. After that, she was tense whenever we attended the same event, and the kids weren't exactly happy to see her. Something my ex said was all my fault, because I didn't offer to let her hold our son, etc. Then she reported me to CPS with several false allegations of abuse. Her claims were wild, and CPS cleared me of all wrongdoing. They said the report was anonymous, but then my ex's girlfriend told me it was disgusting that anyone could clear me and that she knew better. Then she said she'd prove I didn't deserve my kids. Following that, they booked their wedding during my custody time, which conflicted with prearranged plans I had for the kids. I refused to cancel and told them to blame my ex, since he had access to the same schedule and calendar as me. We always had a shared one through an app that told us whose week it was and what plans couldn't be changed. My commitment came first. They kept the date and got married without the kids there, which I was hated for. His wife has been vile to me ever since. She makes disgusting comments about my appearance and has called me a prostitute many times. She tried to turn my ex's family against me, and when it didn't work, she tried to accuse me of parental alienation. For years I've heard that the kids aren't as bonded with her as my ex expects, or as they want the kids to be, and that they only want me. My ex tried to get more custody as a result, and the judge told him there was no cause for an increase from the 50-50 custody we'd had from the beginning. My ex brought up the conversation again last month when we had an IEP meeting for our son. He told me that his wife has been around the kids since they were very young and that she should be their second mom, but they always correct him or her when they call her that and say she's not, even to others who refer to her as their mom. He told me I could be kinder to her and help with that. He said that as a mom, it's my job to make sure all the kids' parents are respected, loved, and treated well. He told me she takes good care of our kids, so I owe her some help with this. I told him I owe her nothing and that he should go back to those CPS allegations and realize I will never owe her or like her. Then via the app just a couple of weeks ago, my ex said he feels like I'm glad our kids don't call her mom or consider her their second mom. He told me I'm just being petty and an a-hole when I could be thinking of the kids' best interest. He said that saying I owe his wife nothing is a bad attitude to hold as well. I won't lie, I am crazy happy the kids aren't super into this woman. I have never discouraged it, and I always keep them out of the drama the best that I can. By that, I mean I can't influence what they see or hear at their dad's house, but I am quietly super happy. My ex isn't wrong about how I feel. Am I the a-hole for saying I owe his wife nothing and for being glad my kids don't consider her their second mom? Now for the top comments. I'd tell him to F himself, but that's just me. Not the a-hole. I try to keep things civil as much as it kills me sometimes, even if I would love to tell him to go F himself. They're goading you into something they can try to use against you legally. Every time, by text in the app, I have nothing to say about your wife, and nothing to say to you at all other than what is essential to co-parent the children I share with you. Not the a-hole. Is it just me who notices that the Whiptex is only thinking of himself and his wife, and not OP? He stood by while OP was called vile things. Stood by and did nothing when his wife tried to steal OP's children, but somehow it's OP who owes his wife. Yo. Well done, OP. Not the a-hole. I am just the ex after all, so why care about what's said or done to the mother of his children when he thinks he found them a new mother? New mom has a uterus and can still have kids. If he wants her to be mom so bad, she can get birthing. If she can't have kids, too bad. Not your problem. Stick to your guns. Did you talk to your lawyer about everything they were doing? 'Cause I am sure the courts won't look favorably on all that surely. Yes, my lawyer is aware, and right now there is nothing the courts would do. This isn't a fight happening in front of the kids directly. But we are keeping in touch, and if something changes regarding the kids' involvement, we will go back to court. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my dad's wife with my half-siblings now that he's MIA? My parents got divorced when I, 16 male, was 2. Until last year, I split my time between them equally. When I was 6, my dad remarried and had more kids with his wife. I never liked her much, and we argued a lot. She always hated my mom too. Then last year, a bunch of stuff changed. My dad was promoted and his base is now out of state, so he and my mom agreed to change the custody schedule. She has me full-time, and I see him when he's home. He and his wife separated after that, but they're still married, and he goes to stay with her some weeks when he's home, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But he's gone way more than he's around. His wife was mad about the custody schedule changing and tried to say she had raised me for 9 years and should be allowed to keep me in her and my half-siblings' lives, even if dad isn't always there. I didn't want to go, so mom said no, and dad was like, whatever, it's fine by me. Since I turned 16, she's been more pushy about me being more involved in her household and not staying away when dad isn't around. She told me I should be helping out now because she's essentially a single parent even if she's not. I really don't want to be around her, and I told her I don't care about helping her. But she says I owe my family more, and that she's family whether I like it or not. And so are my half-siblings. I'm fine with my half-siblings, but we're not close, and I don't need to see them more than I do. She's getting angrier at me and at mom because I won't help and won't spend a few hours or nights at her house when dad isn't there. She's even angrier that I told her she has no authority over me and that my mom has custody now. When she brought up how she's been around most of my life, I told her I never liked her and that since it looks like she and dad are basically over, I don't need to have anything more to do with her. She told me I'm disgusting for being so unhelpful and for turning my back on my family. I don't care what she thinks, but I know this was harder on my half-siblings, and the last time I saw them, they said they missed me. It was awkward because I don't miss them when I don't see them for months, but all they knew was me being there 2 weeks a month. Now I may be there 3 weeks a year. Am I the a-hole? I'm guessing that she wants a co-parent, not even just a babysitter. Not the a-hole. Something like that. I think she wants help for the stuff dad did when he lived there and now doesn't. Then she should divorce him and find a new husband. She wants a stand-in husband. Now your dad isn't around. You're 16 and that is not your job. I don't mean anything gross. More like chores, handyman stuff, watching her kids, what a husband or father would do. Not your responsibility, not the a-hole. That's exactly what I was thinking. My dad used to do a lot of stuff and he's never there to do them. And when he is, it's not the same. I can totally see her wanting me to take it over. If stuff needs to be around his house and he's not there to do it, your dad should find a service that does those kind of things. His absence is creating problems that he needs to deal with. I don't think he's ever coming back permanently, so I don't expect he'll ever deal with this stuff. Next story. My fiancé said that no man wants a daughter. The other week, me, 22 female, and my fiancé, 26 male, got into a pretty big argument. On the way back from grocery shopping, future children were brought up. I mentioned how I'd love to have a little girl, Instead of agreeing or saying something joyful, he quickly said how he'd be disappointed and how he'd want a son. I knew he'd always wanted a son, but I didn't think a daughter would be a disappointment. He then compared a daughter to a son like getting a hand-me-down automatic car compared to a manual new car. I guess he sees daughters as inferior. We went on for a bit, and when I asked why he really wanted a son, he said, "I don't want my bloodline to end, and if I have a daughter, it'll end with her, with my family name." I was speechless. He's not royalty or anything, so I'm not sure why a bloodline is considered that important. We reached home, and I ignored him for a bit. It then blew up again. I tried to be reasonable and maybe come to a resolution, but he kept shouting and mocking me. It reached a peak when he shouted, "What freaking man wants a daughter?" I walked out of the house because I had some unsavory things I wanted to yell. I left to go to work, and while driving, I received a barrage of texts saying how he's cutting my car off the insurance since I'm being so childish. That evening, he apologized, and I thought we'd made some progress when it comes to communication. Flash forward a week later. I'm at work doing my thing when I receive a message from him saying the car's battery is dead. Context: I have 2 cars, he has 1. His car was at the garage, so he's been borrowing one of mine for a couple of weeks. I spoke with my coworker, and she said as it's quiet, I can finish early so he can get my other car to get to work. We talked, and he agreed that if I headed back early, he'd run me back to work so I wouldn't miss out on hours. My coworker was also happy to drop me off at home. He messaged me saying if I head home now, he can drop me off back at work. So I head home and call him once I'm outside. I said, "Hey honey, I'm outside. Where are you?" He snapped at me saying, "I'm nowhere near ready. You come inside. I'm not coming out." Despite my inner urge to just drive back to work after that attitude, I parked, called to him when I got in the house, and sat down on the sofa to wait. 10 minutes passed, and he stormed down the stairs, saw me, and snapped, "Geez, thanks for the help. Nice of you to help me when I'm in a pinch." I was very confused by his attitude, and also the fact that letting him use both my cars isn't considered helping in a pinch. We got in the car. I was baffled and tried to ask calmly why he was so worked up. I was then barked at with words along the lines of, "I'm going to be late for work. You don't even help me. I had to rush to shave. You could have packed my lunch while I was getting ready." I was genuinely shocked. He then continued to yell at me in the car and mock me. I just don't get how he doesn't see how weird he's being. Whenever we have arguments like this, he always ends up making me feel like it's my fault for not always being able to know what's going on. I know I'm far from perfect, and I make mistakes, but I would never treat him how he's treating me at the moment. I feel like I'm always on eggshells, and everything I do is being scrutinized by him and judged, and that no matter what I'm doing, it's not enough for him. I just don't know if he's really being an a-hole or if I'm just being oversensitive. Now for the comments. Please do not have a child with this man. If you end up having a daughter, she will be traumatized. I am not sure if you didn't see all these red flags before getting married, but honestly, I would be thinking about divorce. These issues are core values. Please don't marry this man. He is a walking red flag. Please don't even continue speaking to this man. Please stop calling this person a man. You're not the a-hole. He sounds like an enormous piece of turd. You realize you can't have kids with him, right? What happens if you have a daughter? Now she's stuck with a garbage father that hates her. You shouldn't even be with this dude. Just in denial. I want this to work, but I'm coming to terms with the fact that it won't. Last story. My husband raised his hands at me and told me to shut up. Thinking of divorce. Am I the a-hole? Hello, me, 24 female, and my husband, 36 male, have been married for 2 years. I don't know what came over him, but last week he yelled at me for not picking up his mom's call. I was in the kitchen at the time washing rice, and I genuinely didn't hear the call. My husband was in the washroom, so he didn't hear it either. She called him 3 times. Later, when he saw the missed calls, he got mad at me since I was in the kitchen and could have easily picked up the phone that was in the living room. I really would have done that if I had actually heard it. But he said I was making up excuses and asked if I had some speaker in my ears for me not to hear the ringing. Honestly, whenever I wash rice, the noise of the water coming through the tap is just so loud. Even if someone were to tell me something while standing close, I wouldn't hear half of it. But he didn't believe me and just kept getting louder. He said I'm disrespecting his mom. He said I need to pay more attention to my surroundings and not have my head in some imaginary world. I was already upset because of how loudly he was speaking to me, so I raised my voice too and asked why he didn't just take his phone with him to the washroom. But out of nowhere, he just raised his hand at me and, I'm not even kidding, he said, "Shut your mouth." He's never said that to me before, so I was beyond taken aback. And then he said he regrets marrying me. We haven't spoken to each other over the week. He's ignoring me. I was expecting a sorry, but he is acting as if I don't live in the same house. Now I don't even know if he means what he said, or if I did something wrong, or if I should just apologize. Right now my thoughts keep circling back to him saying he regrets marrying me, so I was considering a divorce. I haven't told my parents what happened, but I did call my friend and cry for a while. She said that was rude of him, but it's better not to make it into a huge issue like divorce. Am I the a-hole? What do I do now? Make a quick game plan and leave when it's safe to do so. Don't go back. This display of anger absolutely will escalate. Contact an attorney ASAP. Please stay safe. Go to your mom's house. Be sure to take all of your important papers. Hugs from an internet stranger. Exactly. Your safety is the most important thing right now. Get away from him. You should be close to him anymore. Not the a-hole. Your husband has threatened you with violence. Don't stick around long enough for him to make good on that threat. Pack all your essential documents and get out as soon as you can. So he's poised to hit you, over a missed call no less, and regrets marrying you? And what's your question? You going to wait for the next crisis where he actually hits you? And if he regrets marrying you, why are you? It's easy for us to say, but that would do it for me. Advice: drop this ass clown. Good luck, lass. The age gap is a big clue, but ultimately it comes down to this. The mask has come off. That he got this upset over a phone call and threatened and menaced you? Hell no. There is no coming back from that. If you stay, it will escalate. I can promise you that. Please, please just leave. Get a divorce. You are so young and you don't deserve to live like this. My in-laws helped take our baby for 5 months based on lies, and the system failed us completely. I'm a 26-year-old first-time mom, married to my 25-year-old husband, first-time dad, and we have a 17-month-old son. When he was just 8 months old, our entire life flipped upside down. My father-in-law made false claims to DCFS, saying we weren't feeding our baby, that we left him crying in his crib all day, and that I was using hard drugs. None of it was true. He barely knew anything about our day-to-day life, and yet he said these things with confidence because he was angry that we didn't want his involvement. My husband and his father have a very complicated past. It wasn't just my decision. To make things worse, my mother-in-law works for DCFS in another state, and she backed him up. She added to the lies and helped him get the attention of DCFS in Washington. I truly believe her position made them take it more seriously. It didn't matter that there was no evidence. They still took our baby. He was placed directly with my father-in-law for 5 months. 5 entire months of our son's life, gone. We missed crawling, first words, his first birthday, everything. During that time, we were treated like criminals. We fought like hell to get him back, and even now we're left with CAPTA charges tied to our names, like we actually hurt our child, which we never did. The only reason DCFS gave for removing him was low weight gain. They never once ordered an allergy test. They never once considered a medical issue. No one, not his foster guardian, not his doctor at the time, not a single caseworker, thought to question what he was being fed. When we finally got him back at 13 months old, I immediately asked for an allergy test. That's when we found out he's allergic to milk. He had been fed milk-based formula his whole life and actual milk once he turned 1. His body could not tolerate it. That's why he wasn't gaining weight. That's why he was so small. It wasn't abuse. It was a medical issue. And nobody figured it out but us. So yeah, I'm angry. I'm furious. The people who were supposed to protect us failed us completely. I'm angry at my in-laws for lying and manipulating. I'm angry at DCFS for believing them with no real proof. And I'm angry that we were the ones who had to figure out what was wrong after being treated like monsters. We're new parents. We took him to all his regular appointments. DCFS wouldn't leave us alone, but none of the doctors ever raised concern. They said we were doing fine. We never even thought to question it until we got him back. Now my husband's family acts like we're being dramatic for cutting them off, like we're just holding a grudge and being emotional. But how are we supposed to move on from this? With these charges still on our names, we are literally moving across the country just to escape what happened here. And DCFS never even said sorry. The charges just stick like nothing ever changed, even after the allergy test proved everything. I don't even care if anyone says anything. I just had to say it out loud. I will never forgive them, and I will never forget. Thanks for reading if you got this far. Now for the top comments. Can you sue? I'd sue the crap out of DCFS. Then add your father-in-law in there as well. They kidnapped your baby. I wish we could, but from what I understand, it's very hard to sue DCFS. I could sue my father-in-law for making false claims to DCFS and doctors, but it'd be a long, expensive journey. At the point, we are just trying to escape and never be seen again. Is there a way to lodge a complaint against your mother-in-law for falsifying reports since she works for DCFS? I would do anything to get that "see you next Tuesday" removed from her job for that. If we had anything but pro bono lawyers, we probably would have a shot at that. She instigated this because her son married me and she didn't approve of it. They've always had a rocky relationship, and this sealed the deal. When we move away, we will be looking into our legal options more, because I do feel that we have a case of some kind on our hands, just not really sure what kind of lawyer would handle this. Nah, F them. Hold a grudge and cut them off completely. Just to add to this, make sure they stay cut off. There is no coming back from this. In a few years, they will try something to get back in contact, a sick relative, a death, or even a wedding. Anything that would involve the whole family getting together. Once you move, change your numbers and maybe get a new email. Change email and names on existing social media and keep them blocked. Make sure they are unable to contact you in any way. Remove any relatives that are 50-50 or support your in-laws. They can be cut off too. Anyone that supports this level of deceit does not deserve to be in your life. Once your child is old enough, let them know what happened and why these people can't be trusted. Make sure any nursery/daycare or school your child goes to has pictures of the grandparents just in case they show up. Set up a password for trusted people that has to be asked at every phone call. So if they track you down, they can't get an update on your child. Also, maybe look into consent about any nursery/daycare/school posting photos online, just in case. Next story. My ex is dying and she asked me to raise the child she had with another man. My ex and I were together for 4 years. We broke up a little over 2 years ago. At the time she was pregnant, but the baby wasn't mine. She had been seeing someone else behind my back, and when she told me, it shattered me. I won't lie, I was angry. I felt betrayed. I cut contact and tried to move on. The guy she left me for completely disappeared. Never stepped up. Never even put his name on the birth certificate, from what I understand. She raised the baby on her own. I didn't reach out. I assumed it was none of my business anymore. Fast forward to now. She contacted me out of nowhere. She's sick, like seriously sick, terminal. She didn't say how long she has left, but it doesn't sound like much time. We met up and she asked me something I never expected. She asked if I would take care of her son after she's gone. Her family is either estranged or unavailable, and she doesn't trust the foster system. She said I was the only person who ever made her feel safe, that even after everything, she trusts me more than anyone. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. Part of me still feels hurt by how things ended. And this kid, he's not mine. I've never met him. But she showed me pictures, told me stories. He's almost 2 now, just a little boy who doesn't understand any of this. I don't know what to do. I'm not a father. I don't even know if I'm capable of being one, let alone under these circumstances. But I also can't stop thinking about this little kid losing his mom and ending up in a system where no one knows him or loves him. I keep picturing him being scared, wondering where she went, waiting for someone who's never coming back. And as much as I want to say it's not my responsibility, something in me can't look away. I don't think I can say no, not because I owe her, but because that kid didn't ask for any of this. None of this is his fault. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm trying to figure out what steps I'd even need to take. I just know that I haven't been able to sleep since she asked me. I feel like my whole world has turned upside down. Not your responsibility. No, it is not. Although I know how it can be to come from a broken home. The kid has a father out there. The common denominator is your ex is a crappy person. Who even knows if this guy is aware? Heck, who even knows if she is actually dying? Wouldn't be the first time someone fakes illness to dump a kid on someone else. The foster system is not good, but a completely unattached baby, that is, not awaiting family reconciliation, that young, will be adopted out almost immediately. Your fears about him ending up in a system where no one knows him or loves him are admirable, but not based in reality. Don't feel like you're the best person for this job just because you think you're the only person for the job. You can talk to CPS and/or the social workers involved if you feel that will help you gauge the situation. As a side note, even if you did agree to take the child when she dies, a court would still need to approve it. Children can't be willed like physical objects are. If you do want to adopt the child, start building a relationship now so the court sees that you're not just a random stranger to the child. Not all young children get adopted. That's not a true statement. The young children who aren't adopted in the foster system are generally awaiting family reconciliation, which means they aren't available for adoption, or they are medically complex and need specially qualified parents. But young babies who are available for adoption do not have family attachments and are healthy are very much in high demand, especially if the baby is white, sadly. People will hate you for saying that, but it's true. Next story. My ex who left me to marry his mom's choice has been telling people how miserable he is. I know I shouldn't feel so good about it, but I do. We were both international students, and in our second year of undergrad, he started saying his family would want him to marry by 23 or 24. We were Indian students just 20, in a different country, and he always had a problem with me assimilating too much. I made friends with people who were not Indian, and he used to berate me for mixing with foreigners in Europe. Phew. But that entire 1.5 years of the relationship mentally screwed me over for some time. I finally started dating again at 23. The whole time with my ex, he made me feel small and inferior, and I started to hate myself for being career-oriented. He would be angry if I hung out with my best friend, now brother-in-law, who is gay, and always had a problem if I wore dark-colored lipstick. Believe it or not, that was my breaking point. I cannot live without red lipstick. He left after undergrad. By that time, we had broken up, and I used to avoid him, but a huge portion of the Indian student community thought I was a low woman, and I had a social reputation problem. I wouldn't even get invited to Diwali celebrations during undergrad, because I had left a pious good guy to do characterless stuff. Stuff was crazy back then. I was so glad I moved to a different city for my master's, and when I moved back, most of the horrible rumors had died down, but the after effects stayed with me. He told me when leaving that he would marry a good girl, one his mother would love and choose. And he did. And the poor village girl he married not only separated him from his parents within a year, she now says they won't have kids unless one of the properties is in her name. Good for her, I guess, but better for my crappy ex and his family. My friend, who told me all this, said that he regretted leaving me the moment he came back to India, but his parents wouldn't let him leave the country after that. His life is apparently a living hell right now, working for his rich dad's business, which he hates, miserable in his marriage, and still no kids, which he wanted by 24. We are 27 now. I am currently at my parents' place, and will have to see him in a few days when I go to the reunion with my undergrad friends. I know he will make offhanded comments, but well, this time I'll have ammo to fight back. Just wanted to share that karma hit my ex, and I am pleased. Edit. Many people are asking me to take a hot guy, but I don't need to. I am engaged. My fiancé is with me at my parents' place, and he will most likely be at the reunion. Most of us in the reunion who have spouses are bringing them. Now for the top comments. As an Indian woman who doesn't live in the country, ask me how many situations I've seen where women who assimilate to the Western country are branded as low women. Heck, most of us are branded as characterless women. Because guess what? Due to the safety and security we get in Europe, we dress up, go out for late-night walks, and are much freer in many senses. We don't have to worry about getting catcalled or eve-teased here either, at least where I live. The only harassment I've had was from the Indian community, which punishes women for straying too far away from their values. OP, your ex deserves it. The only thing which you didn't deserve was all the mistreatment, which I'm guessing only happened because people get jealous that you are doing much better than them. Honestly, same. I won't say I have not faced ignorance or colorism abroad, but again, it has been mostly from the Indian community. I still don't understand why it's their business to go around running policing women who are no one to them. Ignore him if you do see him. He's a married man. He should mind his business. If he attempts to speak to you, remove yourself from the situation. And I like the suggestion of you wearing your reddest lipstick too. If others judged and treated you poorly though, why would you want to attend the event? They all sound like miserable company. You're better off treating yourself somewhere instead. Not all of them were awful. Plus, I am genuinely good friends with a few girls from my undergrad who will be in India and coming to the reunion. I don't think my crappy ex should stop me from having fun with my friends. Last story. My boyfriend resents me because I own 3 houses. I come from a messed up family. Not going into details, but know that heavy alcoholism and hard drug use were prominent. I saw a lot of violence too. I hated how I grew up. By the time I was 13, I knew college was my only way out. By the time I was in high school, I kept my grades up. I got a scholarship and went to college. Fast forward 2 decades, and I now have 3 houses, retirement accounts, a great job, and have really worked my butt off to come from nothing for all this. I am also divorced, but wasn't married long. He was emotionally abusive, and it did get physical a few times. He even threw a shovel at me once. It missed. He took advantage of my financial situation too, so I divorced him. We were both military at the time, and there were reasons why we got married. We do have a child together. My boyfriend now had a vastly different life. He grew up in a house full of love. He wanted to emulate what his parents had. He was married for 15 years, and the first 10 were great. His marriage fell apart after they had their second kid, so they got divorced. Not going into detail why, it's not relevant. And he had his reasons for wanting the divorce. His dad left him a property, but his ex-wife wound up getting it. He harbors a lot of resentment towards her for that, because now he can only afford to rent a duplex, and it's a constant struggle. He went through a slew of crappy women, some worse than others, and then he met me. I'm the first he ever met who had my act together. According to him, he was the breadwinner in all of his relationships and marriage. I make nearly twice what he makes in salary alone, and it'll be more than that once I start receiving VA disability pay. He clearly has issues with this. He says he doesn't, but he does. According to him, since he's the man, he's supposed to be the provider. I said it's 2025. Those are outdated gender roles. We both agree we're a team, but he feels emasculated because I make more. And when we first met, he didn't know my finances. We were still getting to know each other, and he told me how one particular ex used him for rent money. He also said, I'm the man, so I'll be in charge of the finances. I didn't say anything about it, and knew as we progressed, my situation would be revealed in due time. However, it was because of that statement, I intentionally waited a few months before I told him what my salary was. And ever since, it's just been a problem. It sucks though. I love him for him. It doesn't bother me that I make more. We have talked about moving in together. I told him that since the other 2 bedrooms in my house are white, we can paint them whatever color his kids want. He has worked hard. His life was just different than mine. He didn't go to college and instead worked and helped his ex-wife when they were married, and I think that's noble. It shows selflessness, which not many people have anymore. More and more, he makes backhanded comments to me about finances. Your friends must think I'm a loser since you guys have nice houses. $20 is like $1 to you, and things like that. It is getting tiring. I understand his frustrations with his own situation, but there's no reason to put me down for mine. I feel like he resents me because I invested in myself early on in life, and now I have assets and he doesn't. I have told him, what's the point of having all this if I have nobody to share it with? You probably already know this, but it's not going to work out with this guy. He has quite a bit of baggage, particularly with his provider slant, and that's not going to go away without putting in the work. Add to that his resentment of his ex, and he needs to work through those issues before he's ready for a relationship as equals. I'm the man, so I'll be in charge of finances, says the man who has none to be in charge of. When I met my husband, he lived in the black, but I had more, owned a home, had retirement accounts. While we were getting serious and got engaged, we had long talks about how we'd manage our finances. I had a very specific and regimented management strategy, and while he always had enough, his was more loosey-goosey. He was like, yeah, we'll just do it your way. That's a man who is A, secure enough to recognize when someone is managing something better than he is, and B, smart enough to get on board and be a real partner. I explained how I manage mine, and even said trust me with how I handle debt. He was trying to convince me that having debt is okay. No, the heck it's not. He doesn't have massive debt, but has some. I have more than him at the moment because of rather expensive house repairs, so I get it. But the difference is I can pay mine off in 6 months as long as nothing else happens. He can't. I wish his thought process was like your man's. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my relationship with my stepbrother and not giving him access to my house or gaming setup? My parents divorced when I, 20 male, was 7. My mom remarried when I was 10, and her husband's son, my stepbrother, was 8. He and I got along badly from the start. He didn't like that I could do stuff he couldn't, like walk to the store on my own because it was right down the block from mom's house, or that I was allowed to go to friends' houses after school when I was with my dad. He was jealous about the gaming setup I had at dad's house too, but that was mom's fault. He even knew about it. She tried to force my dad to invite him over sometimes so he could play with me, and she and her husband could have a date night. We fought a lot, and in the run-up to the wedding, we argued about being called brothers and having to stand next to each other during the wedding. They tried to force us into poses for pre-wedding photos, and we refused. He even bit me during the shoot, and after that, I refused to take more photos with him. Our relationship got worse, and he would annoy me by complaining about stuff, so I rubbed in all the things I had that he didn't, or could do that he couldn't. My mom begged me at the time to please treat him like a little brother and just try to be nicer and let stuff go. She said it was important because we'd always be family, even if we hated it. He tried to befriend me once when we were like 13 and 11, and he wanted access to the good stuff, but I didn't buy it. He let it slip himself because he mentioned being invited to my dad's house like 10 times while playing nice. My dad died when I was 16, and my stepbrother mocked me, saying he'd get to play that stuff now because, of course, dad's stuff would be going to mom and his dad's house. Only my grandparents kept it at dad's house and watched over the house until I turned 18 and could move in. And that's exactly what I did. My dad left everything to me, including his house, and we didn't sell it so I could live in it once I graduated, which I now do. My mom wanted me to let my stepbrother move in so he could have some independence while going to the college he got into nearby. I said no, and I told mom she would not change my mind and she could not pay me to live with him again. She complained that I was doing nothing to improve the relationship, and I replied that I don't need to. That I will never want to improve my relationship with him because, to me, he's not family or a friend. Then he reached out and told me he was sorry for being a jerk in the past and wanted to know if he could come over and play games sometime. He said he saw my collection online and was jealous of all the stuff I have and would love the chance to play games he never could before or hasn't played in years. He offered to bring snacks. I said no. My mom found out he had reached out and asked me, and she told me she was ashamed of me for rejecting him so finally like that. She said it would be no big deal to let him play some dumb games. She said after all the gloating I did about that stuff in my teens, the least I could do is try to work on things now and share with him. I told her no, and I would not discuss it more. She said I'm older than he is and that I'm pretending I'm so mature. while really I'm acting like a kid still and refusing to accept apologies and work on repairing relationships. She said it was not how any adult should behave. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Stand your ground. He doesn't want a relationship with you. He wants access to your property. I know your mom cares about him, but she didn't care enough to stop his behavior when you were younger. She didn't care to stop him when he mocked your father's death. At any time, his own father could have bought him video games, but didn't. He is not your problem, not your circus, not your monkeys. If your mother doesn't like it, that sounds like a her problem, not yours. Yep, my mom might not want to see it, but if he wanted a relationship for real, he'd reach out and want to meet up somewhere, or he'd make an effort the next time he actually saw me, instead of trying to get an invite to my stuff. Not the a-hole. Sorry, but your mom is delusional if she expects you to invite your stepbrother into your house. He was a little turd when you lived in the same house, and I doubt he has changed. He said he saw my collection online and was jealous of all the stuff I have, and would love the chance to play games he never could before. He could either try and steal your stuff, or damage it so that you couldn't use it. You are not obligated to have any kind of relationship with him. Period. I had a similar thought, or he'd turn on me the second I wanted him to leave. The options are endless. Plus, you don't get over 10 years of hating each other like nothing. Very true. He is trying to leverage being your stepbrother or family, with your mom, to get access to your stuff. Not because he has had a change of heart. The good thing is that you are an adult and don't have to do anything that you don't want to. You already have the upper hand by simply having your own place and possessions. I'll bet that he is just dying of envy. I'm sure he is. Knowing how jealous he has always been of the collection of games and consoles, it wouldn't surprise me if that was still true. And I have my own house where I can keep them away from him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my ex full access to my life just because we co-parent? I, 25 female, have a 6-month-old baby with my ex, 24 male, and we've been trying to co-parent since we split a few months ago. But now he's saying I'm being an a-hole for not telling him everything I do, even when the baby isn't with me. We were together from high school, 2015, up until recently. Our breakup happened shortly after I gave birth, when I found out he had been cheating with multiple women. His excuse? That I wasn't being sexual enough postpartum, and he had a high libido. Yeah, that was enough for me to walk away. Since then, I've been rebuilding my life. I got more involved in my church, formed new friendships, and started feeling like myself again for the first time in a while. I've also done everything I can to keep things calm and respectful for the sake of our baby. But now he's making it an issue that I don't share details about my personal life with him. He says I should be more transparent and that it's important for co-parenting. He wants to know who I'm hanging out with, what I'm doing, who my new friends are, even if I'm just out while he has the baby. His reasoning? He tells me about what he's doing, so I should do the same. But here's the thing. I've never asked him for any of that information. He voluntarily tells me, hey, I'm about to hang out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone new, even when our child is not in his care. It's his personal time, and I've told him I don't need or want those updates. Yet now he's acting like, because he shares that info with me, I owe him the same level of openness, even though I've never requested it, and it's unrelated to our child. He's also been following some of my new friends on social media and asking me questions about them. My account is private, so I don't know how he's even finding them. I suspect he's using a burner account or viewing my church's page, which posts pictures of me and the people I hang out with. I had to ask them to stop posting me. We have a photography team that takes pictures during or after a service and posts them online for media purposes, because I believe he was using those posts to find my friends and follow them. He's never reached out to any of them, but the whole thing feels really creepy and invasive. It's crossing a boundary for me. I've talked to some friends about this, and their opinions are mixed. Some say he has a point, that we should be transparent with each other since we share a child. Others think he's overstepping, and that this isn't part of normal co-parenting, especially since our child hasn't met any of these people and I'm not dating anyone right now. Even my mom is siding with him. She's liked him since we were together in high school, and anytime we argued, she tended to take his side and ask what I did wrong. Now she's saying I should be open about who I'm hanging out with to better co-parent. That makes me question myself even more. I'm not trying to be an a-hole or difficult. I believe in healthy boundaries. If someone's going to be around my child, I'll share that. But just living my life and seeing friends when my baby isn't with me, I don't think I owe him a play-by-play. So now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for keeping parts of my life private from my child's father when it doesn't involve our child? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He's just trying to control you. He doesn't get to do that anymore. Yeah, this is controlling, and he's gaslighting OP to think it's normal. OP, if you're not already, start using one of those apps designed specifically for co-parenting communication. The fact that he's so comfortable trying to control you is concerning, so make sure all communication is documented. Take him back to court for harassment if he doesn't stop. Also, I wouldn't listen to what your mom or friends are saying. He's prying into your life and it's making you uncomfortable. That's all that matters. Heck, it sounds like he might literally be stalking you. You can't block him, so use an app that can be monitored and continue telling him you don't want his details and you won't be sharing yours. I'm sorry you're going through this. Not the a-hole. Question: do you have a court-approved parenting plan? If not, get one, ASAP, and request to use the parenting app for communications. Anything not child-related, ignore, period. Your life is not his business, especially when it does not pertain to your child. I've been considering a court-approved parenting plan just to have clear boundaries and a set visitation schedule, but I'm super new to all that, so I'm not sure how it works or what I can even ask for. Definitely feels like it might be time to figure that out though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for reminding my husband's father and stepmother that legally my husband isn't their son anymore? My husband lost his mom when he was 4.5 years old. She was hit by a drunk driver and died instantly. At the time of her death, she was pregnant, and my husband's sibling died too. His dad remarried when he was 6, and a year later, my husband was legally adopted by his stepmother. This wasn't something they discussed with my husband or asked for his feelings on. It was just something they did, and it had the full support of the adult members of his dad's family, who felt that all children needed a mother, and that he should be raised by her if something were to happen to his dad. There was bad blood between his mom and dad's family, even before the two married. He never knew why, and still doesn't. His mom's family has no idea, and neither do cousins on his dad's side. The adoption is something my husband always resented, and he never bonded with his stepmother. He never called her mom or sought out her comfort or love. He never loved her back either. As a kid, he was a runaway a couple of times, and when he was on the cusp of turning 17, he left and moved in with a maternal uncle for a few months before moving to his grandparents' house. Once he was with them, he asked to be adopted back by them, which they agreed to. His father and stepmother swore they were done with him after this, but they always expected him to come crawling back, begging for them to forgive him and love him. But he never has. He's had very minimal contact with them, and only because he's close to a few cousins on that side. They weren't invited to our wedding and were never notified when we started having kids. Our kids don't even know who they are, even though they have seen them at a distance twice. We recently attended a birthday party for 2 of his cousins' children, and his father and stepmother approached me and tried to get me on their side to make my husband talk to them, but I shut them down. Then they told me I was denying them a relationship with their grandchildren, and that my husband is their son, and I should be encouraging the relationship between everybody. I reminded them that, legally, he isn't their son anymore, and I told my husband they wouldn't leave me alone. We tried harder to keep our distance because they were mad, but the two would not stop approaching me or us with their anger at my choice of words. So we told his cousin who was hosting that we were leaving, and then the cousin kicked them out too. It started a fight between the cousins on my husband's side and the rest of the family, and I was blamed. One of my husband's paternal aunts used a second Facebook account that she uses for her MLM crap, and she told him that I had no right to be so rude to my father-in-law and mother-in-law, and that it was insulting to rub his patty choice in their face. My husband blocked her second account and went back to it, but even the cousins are getting grief over what I said. So, Am I the a-hole for saying what I did to them? Not the a-hole. You're standing up for your husband's feelings and decisions, which is what a good spouse should do. Their legal ties don't change the emotional reality. I try. I always want to have his back like he has mine. Not the a-hole. Incredibly presumptuous of them to think you would side against your actual husband in solidarity with people you have no real relationship with. It was the first time I ever actually talked to them, so no relationship between us at all. This made their attempt even more outrageous to me. Oh man, you just gave me flashbacks to my bridal shower, when my husband's grandmother came up to me to lecture me about inviting her ex-husband. I had only met her a few times and had never had a real conversation with her and had never met the ex-husband. I have no idea why she thought I had any say over the matter, or why she wouldn't let it drop when I informed her such and told her to talk to her grandson. You're obviously not the a-hole. Good on you for having your husband's back. Just from that interaction, I can see why he might have wanted to be adopted by different people. Sheesh. I'm so sorry she did that during your bridal shower. It is a good example of why my husband feels as he does. He has so many others. But that alone was not a good first conversation impression. Last story. Am I the a-hole for pursuing medicine even though my wife is pregnant? I am 24 years old and my wife is 25. She is pregnant and due later this year. I start med school next year. Everything is already set, and I have been admitted to school. However, some of my wife's family has openly stated that it's selfish to go to med school because I have a kid on the way and they need my time. I decided to become a doctor before my wife was pregnant, and I postponed starting so I can be here with her throughout the whole pregnancy. I am a veteran, and the GI Bill will help a lot. Plus, I also receive VA disability. With my income alone, we will be fine. And I will try my best to be home and with my kid as much as I can. I am not going to med school because I want to be away, but because I am working towards our future and my career. They keep telling me that school is too long, and that it's not a good choice. My wife has been supportive. I care more about my wife's input than her family, but I am just trying to see if I am being selfish from someone else's perspective. So, am I the a-hole for still choosing to go to med school? Not the a-hole. My fiancé is currently in school and about to be a dad. I support him 100%. In this economy, you need the best job you can get, especially to support a child. Exactly. Pursuing a stable long-term career, especially one as important as medicine, is a responsible move, not a selfish one. Investing in a strong future benefits the whole family, especially with a child on the way. Seriously, who in their right minds would deny their partner and kid becoming a doctor? The financial stability in the future is well worth the stress now. I say that as someone currently in school for a master's level medical degree. My husband is stoked for us to have stable income in a few years when I'm done. Being a dad and a med student? That's multitasking on expert mode. You're basically training to save lives while preparing for diaper duty. If that's not dedication, I don't know what is. I had 3 new dads in my med school class, and at least 6 new moms. One of the moms was first in our class, and in AOA, Med School Honor Society. It can absolutely be done. And if it becomes too burdensome, you can request to lessen your class load your first year and extend school to 5 years instead of 4. People do it all the time.